What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Johners. I suppose you could call this the Christmas edition of Wrestling with Johners. This has been recorded a couple of days after Christmas, so I hope you all had a lovely time with your families. I hope you all got some lovely presents, including maybe some wrestling merch. Myself, I've got a nice Progress Wrestling t-shirt. I got Jim Smallman's book, I'm Sorry, I Love You, and I got my very first Wrestling with Johners t-shirt, thanks to my lovely wife, who thought that I needed one. Maybe in a few months' time I might be selling them online, who knows. But we're a little bit behind schedule with some of the episodes here. We're going to be focusing on NXT and NXT UK from Wednesday the 19th of December. So the show starts, we get a video package focusing on Rhea Ripley's first ever NXT UK women's title defence later on in the show against the White Witch of NXT, Isla Dawn. However, we start with proceedings with Jordan Devlin. He's up against Wild Boar Mike Hitchman. So the import killer is on fire since starting with the NXT UK brand, and we've recently reviewed Devlin in an awful lot of previous episodes. More recently in my most recent Progress Wrestling episode when I reviewed Chapter 79. Devlin's opponent tonight is Wild Boar Mike Hitchman, who has not had the best of runs since first showing up in NXT UK. However, he is more than capable of having a great match with Jordan Devlin tonight. Devlin hits some vicious elbows across the bridge of Mike Hitchman's nose before putting him in a chinlock. Hitchman then gets whipped into the corner with power, but Hitchman gets up to his knees with a demonic smile on his face. Devlin misses a standing moonsault, allowing the Wild Boar to hit a running senton to the back of his opponent. Some strong hammer fists connect from Hitchman, followed by a shoulder charge, only for a 2 count on Devlin. Devlin is able to roll through on a package piledriver attempt before connecting with an overhead kick to the jaw of Hitchman. Devlin misses an attempted moonsault, landing expertly on his feet, however, but gets nailed with a pop-up powerbomb for his troubles. Hitchman cannot follow it up, though, as he misses a charge into the corner, with Devlin capitalising on his awesome ripcord backdrop driver and his Irish call finisher for the win. That was a fun match and a good one to open the show with. Devlin means business and grabs the microphone in the ring. He goes on to say, "When are you people gonna learn what everyone else in the locker room knows? When you bet on Jordan Devlin, it's not a gamble because the ace trumps all." We then see Tyler Bate and Trent Seven arriving at the building as they are asked how they are finding NXT UK so far. They say that NXT UK has kicked off in a really big way and they have to deal with everything accordingly. So Tyson, Tbone and Saxton, Huxley will be dealt with tonight. Tyler then goes on to say that British Strong Style with himself, Trent Seven and Pete Dunne have their beef with Gallus, but once they get them out of the way, they'll be able to concentrate on winning the NXT UK Tag Team Championships. Trent then says that they've held gold before and they will hold it again. We then have a backstage interview with Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. They are asked what a victory against Zach Gibson and James Drake in the first round of the NXT Tag Team title tournament would mean to them. Webster responds by saying that a win would be big, because he and Mark Andrews have set their sights on the NXT UK Tag Team Championships. Andrews then goes on to say that him and Flash embodies everything about NXT UK, because NXT UK is the most exciting brand on WWE, and him and Flash are the most exciting performers on NXT UK. And for them, the sky's the limit. We next have a match featuring Fabian Eichner, and tonight he's going up against Eddie Ryan. So Fabian Eichner has been impressive over recent weeks and is a current Evolve Heavyweight Champion, but tonight he's going up against a Plymouth hometown hero in front of, in the form of the English Lion, Eddie Ryan. Ryan has been wrestling around the UK indie scene for many years now and should put in a good showing tonight. Ryan has a great look and has been forging a name for himself as a singles competitor over the last few years and has finally landed here for his NXT UK debut. Eichner does the old Ric Flair swerve on the opening handshake, and then the bell rings for the start of the match. Ryan starts quick with a drop kick and a clothesline, sending Eichner to the outside. This offense is short-lived, however, as Eichner recovers to hit his tilt-to-the-world backbreaker on Ryan before laying in some boots. Eichner hits a nice belly-to-back suplex before applying an abdominal stretch on Ryan. Ryan is able to come back, however, with an impressive enziguri and a second rope spinning back elbow for a 2 count. The end of the match comes after Eichner hangs Ryan out to dry across the top rope, causing Eddie Ryan to fall to the outside. Eichner then runs Ryan into the ring steps before nailing a running knee, adding insult to injury, before executing his patented spinning powerbomb back inside the ring for the win. We then get a vignette for the Kiwi buzzsaw Travis Banks with a video package highlighting his feud with Coffey, which is the match we will be seeing later on tonight. We then have the match between Mustache Mountain and Saxton, Huxley and Tyson Tbone. So Tyler and Trent make a glorious entrance to a standing ovation for the former NXT Tag Team Champions. Although the official Tag Team tournament has not started on NXT UK TV yet, you can expect to see both of these teams in the tournament when it starts in the coming weeks. Saxton and Tyson Tbone lay in a beating onto Trent Seven for the first half of the match, with Tbone and Huxley working well as a team until Seven is able to hit a Snapdragon suplex from out of nowhere, eventually making the hot tag to the former WWE UK champion, the big strong boy Tyler Bate. So Bates hits an exploder suplex, a standing shooting star press and a wicked dive onto Tbone on the outside. The match does eventually come to an end when Seven is tagged back in, allowing Bate to hit his amazing slingshot clothesline with an assisted Snapdragon suplex combo with Trent Seven for another win for the men from Mustache Mountain. That was another entertaining match with the heels carrying much of it, but was no match for the former NXT champs Tyler Bate and Trent Seven once the hot tag was made to close out the match. We then get a backstage interview with Bomber Dave Mastiff. He mentions how his match against Eddie Ryan was incredibly brutal, but where does someone who is still undefeated go? The answer, up against the WWE UK champion. Just then, Eddie Dennis appears, taking exception to Mastiff's win last week by attacking the Bomber, throwing him into the backstage area before shouting how things are not over between the two of them, sending out a clear message to the Bomber. Then we get Rhea Ripley versus Isla Dawn. So Isla Dawn has been on a great winning streak in NXT UK of late, with matches recently against Killer Kelly, Millie McKenzie and Jordan Grace, showing us what she is capable of. Not to mention that Dawn competed in this year's Mae Young Classic. This has been a great year for the White Witch. Speaking of great years, Rhea Ripley has also had an amazing year, considering that we first saw Rhea Ripley at last year's Mae Young Classic, the first ever in 2017. As the athletic girl next door character. Since then, she's turned into a mean, cold-hearted and powerful superstar. Is fast becoming the total package and a big name in the WWE, and of course is the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion, beating Toni Storm in the tournament finals last month. This is Rhea's first ever title defence. Dawn gets the upper hand in the first few minutes with a double stomp to the chest of the champ, transitioning nicely into a headlock. Ripley manages to escape before hitting a well-executed dropkick, taking Isla Dawn down. Ripley punishes Dawn with several stiff chops, stomps and kicks of her own before showing her strength in full force with a beautifully executed vertical suplex for a 2 count. Ripley slows the pace down with a chin lock on Dawn before nailing Dawn with a huge lariat for another 2 count. Ripley blocks an attempted roll through from Dawn to put on her patented reverse standing cloverleaf. Dawn manages to grab the bottom rope for the break. Dawn dodges an attempted kick, drop kick and shoulder barge all in succession from Ripley, which sees the champ go shoulder first into the steel ring post. Dawn hits a few solid forearms before hitting a picture-perfect backdrop driver, a back heel kick, then her float-over bridge and suplex, but can only manage a 2 count for her troubles. The end of the match comes when Ripley ducks a pump kick from Dawn before hitting her pump handle Riptide Slam for the 1-2-3, and the end of this match after 10 minutes. That was another fun match and a successful title defence from Rhea Ripley.
Today's show is brought to you by Finishing Move Limited, specialising in the simple, stylish and versatile to help you elevate your everyday. Check out their Instagram at Finishing Move Limited and find their elevated essentials range at finishingmovelimited.com.
We then head into hour 2 of this week's show with NXT UK return of Toni Storm. We haven't seen Storm since she lost the NXT UK Women's title tournament final against Rhea Ripley, and she comes to the ring to a massive ovation from the fans in attendance. Her opponent is Charlie Morgan, and we last spoke about Charlie Morgan in episode 11, where we covered Progress Wrestling's Chapter 79 from the 26th of November. Tonight she goes up against the 2018 Mae Young Classic winner, Toni Storm. And it's fantastic to hear her get a superstar reception from the fans prior to the start of the match. Both competitors exchange stiff kicks to start the match before Storm nails Morgan with an impressive running drop kick for a 2 count. Storm is quick to apply a punishing STF, which Morgan is able to escape from by reaching the bottom rope. Morgan hits back with a step up enziguri, followed by a running forearm into the corner before applying a camel clutch. Now that's a move you don't see too often, but it fits well in this match as she tries to keep Storm grounded. Storm hits a huge German suplex before nailing a hip attack in the corner, followed by her Storm Zero Tiger Driver for the pinfall victory versus the spirited Charlie Morgan in just over 5 minutes. Welcome back, Toni Storm. We then see a video package featuring Joe and Mark Coffey along with Wolfgang, otherwise known as Gallus, and their show of dominance as the heel faction in NXT UK. We then get backstage footage of Joe, Coffey and Travis Banks preparing for their matchup later on tonight. We then see Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews go up against James Drake and Zach Gibson. So you certainly know when Gibson and Drake are in town, as you only have to listen out for the boos that always rain down on Mr. Mayhem and Liverpool's number one. And the chants soon start up with Gibson starting the match against Mark Andrews. The babyface duo control the pace of the match in the first few minutes with a nice standing moonsault and a senton from Andrews onto Gibson. Gibson is able to tag out James Drake. Gibson is seen removing his wrist tape before throwing it at Webster on the ring apron as a distraction, allowing Drake to knock Webster to the outside with a running knee. Gibson is soon tagged in, nailing Webster with a backbreaker before dropping Webster chest first across the crowd barrier at ringside. Plenty of tags between Drake and Gibson back on the inside, keeping Webster grounded in their half of the ring until he's finally able to make the hot tag to Mark Andrews, who nails Gibson with a slingshot Hurricane Rana before hitting an impressive double overhead kick to both of his opponents. Andrews gets a 2 count off of DDT onto Drake, but his offense was short-lived as he is nailed with a running dropkick in the corner, followed by a ticket to right lung blower from Gibson for the 2 count. Morgan Webster is able to hit a fantastic reverse Rana on James Drake before nailing a headbutt to the face of Liverpool's number one. Andrews manages to hit a double stun dog millionaire on both Drake and Gibson before setting himself up for a shooting star press finisher. That was until Fabian Eichner came out to the ring, shoving Webster into the ring posts, into the ring steps, on the outside. This caused Andrews to come to Webster's aid, jumping down from the turnbuckle, and the end of the match came when Andrews does finally execute his shooting star press onto James Drake, who is not the legal man at the time, having just tagged out to Gibson. Andrews goes for the cover, only to be pulled off the cover by Zach Gibson, allowing him to apply the Shankly Gates, causing Andrews to tap out, giving Gibson and Drake the win. That was a really fun tag match between 4 of the best workers in NXT UK, with some excellent double team moves from both Drake and Gibson, as well as some outside interference from Fabian Eichner. After the match, Eichner comes back into the ring to continue his assault on Mark Andrews before Flash Morgan Webster spots what's going on, causing him to come to Mark Andrews' aid, finally clearing Eichner from the ring. Then we see a match between Killer Kelly and Nina Samuels. So I love Killer Kelly's entrance, which is fast-paced, furious, just like Kelly herself. She looks focused as she enters the ring in preparation for a match against Nina Samuels. Both these female competitors have had a mixed results since first appearing on NXT UK TV. Nina Samuels was certainly the aggressor to start this match out, but Kelly was able to hit an impressive suplex, sending Samuels into the corner before coming in hard with a running basement dropkick, but only for a 2 count. However, the end of the match came when Nina Samuels executes her fireman slam backbreaker for the pinfall victory in just under 5 minutes. We then see a backstage interview with Fabian Eichner, who says that if Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews think they're in line for the NXT UK tag team titles, no sir. Eichner says that he's going to find himself a tag team partner and go out and win the tag team titles himself. We then have the main event of Hour 1, featuring Travis Banks and Joe Coffey. Joe Coffey comes out for this match without Gallus, without Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. We then see the Kiwi buzzsaw Travis Banks, who defeated Wolfgang the last time we saw him in the ring. Banks nails Coffey with a dropkick, sending his opponent into the corner before taking the action to the outside. Banks is quick to get back inside the ring to execute a running dive through the ropes, which Coffey is quick to swerve, causing Banks to crash to the floor. Coffey then swings Travis Banks into the barriers on the outside before applying a full Nelson. Coffey then adds punishment with a single arm DDT onto Banks' recently injured right arm. Banks strikes back with a wicked knee strike to the mouth of Coffey, causing something to come flying out of his mouth. Banks follows this up with a drop kick to the corner and a running knee for a close near fall. Coffey hits a whip into the corner, adding extra punishment to the already injured shoulder of Banks before hitting an avalanche in the corner and a pop-up slam for another 2 counts. Coffey hits an overhead belly-to-belly for another 2 count before continuing the assault on Banks' injured shoulder with a series of kicks. Banks is able to make a brief comeback with 2 successive double foot stomps before nailing Coffey with a fisherman buster for a 2 count of his own. Banks hits a missile dive through the bottom rope and through the bottom and second rope, this time hitting its target before striking with a 3rd double foot stomp, but once again only for a 2 count. The end of the match came when Travis Banks blocks an attempted discus clothesline from Coffey, but with his injured arm, giving Joe Coffey license to attempt the clothesline for a second time, this time catching its target with force, allowing Coffey to cover and take the pinfall victory in this grueling matchup. Once again, another couple of good hours of NXT UK action, with the highlights being the return of Tony Storm, the match where Jordan Devlin and his dominant win over the Wild Boar, and the match between Drake and Gibson versus Andrews and Morgan Webster, and not forgetting the NXT UK women's title match between Isla and Rhea Ripley. Moving on, so we're looking at NXT from Full Sail, the December the 19th episode. To start the show, we get an opening video package highlighting tonight's main event between Aleister Black and Johnny Gargano, which will take place inside of a steel cage. The first match, however, is Io Shirai and Dakota Kai versus Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, 2 members of the MMA 4 Horsewomen. So this is a grudge match of sorts, born out of Shayna Baszler's feud with Kairi Sane and the interference from Duke and Shafir at WWE Evolution and again at TakeOver War Games. This is their debut on NXT TV. We see an aggressive start from Kai with stiff kicks and a double foot stomp from Kai onto Duke for a 2 count. We haven't seen much from Io Shirai since finally the Mae Young Classic in October, apart from that sweet moonsault she hit on Duke and Shafir on the outside at NXT for the NXT Women's title match between Baszler and Sane at War Games. There's plenty of groundwork from Duke to start the match, cranking down on the neck of Dakota Kai. When Shirai finally gets the tag, she hits a high knee, some solid forearm smashes, a 619, a springboard dropkick, and a set of double knees into the corner onto Shafir. Dakota Kai nails Duke with a running boot to the face, preventing her from coming in and interfering before Io Shirai makes her way to the top to hit her trademark moonsault for the cover and the pinfall victory on Marina Shafir. A slightly surprising result, having Duke and Shafir lose on their NXT TV debut, but the team of Kai and Shirai make a strong team and made a good comeback once Shirai got the tag in, demonstrating some of her excellent aerial moves for the win for her team. We then get a recap from Matt Riddle's victory against Punishment Martinez when Cassius Ohno did his post-match attack on Riddle, seeking some revenge following Ohno's quick loss to Riddle at TakeOver War Games. We then get an interview with Riddle, who said that he dares Cassius Ohno to step in the ring with him again so that he can knock Ohno out in 7 seconds. We then see a quick match between Erin, Mackie and Dominic Djokovic. This was a squash, allowing Djokovic to demonstrate his power and agility. He's 6'7" and has a bad attitude. He sent his opponent flying across the ring with a suplex throw combo before nailing a GTS-like manoeuvre, which looked awesome for the easy pinfall victory. We then get a video package showing EC3, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, Heavy Machinery and Lars Sullivan, who will all soon be going up to the main roster from the new year. We then see Heavy Machinery in action next in a squash match, and by all accounts they've not been beaten in 6 months and could soon be in line for a match against the NXT Tag Team Champions, the Undisputed Era, which will take place on next week's NXT and will be for the tag team titles. We then see the 15-foot high steel cage surrounding the ring for the first time ever on NXT TV at Full Sail, and this will be a match between Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black. So Aleister appears to have regained his mystique since losing his NXT Championship to Tommaso Ciampa a few months ago thanks to a Johnny Gargano interference that backfired. But before Black could even get inside the ring, he is met in the dark of the ringside area with a surprise attack from his opponent Johnny Gargano. Gargano wastes no time in attacking Black with punches and slaps on the outside, but Black strikes back with a powerful kick, sending Johnny flying into the ring barrier. Black gets rammed into the steel cage, then the ring steps, and all of this before the match officially begins. Both men eventually gets into the ring for the start of the match, where Johnny takes the upper hand after Black is dropped crotch first across the top rope. Black does eventually manage to make a comeback with a moonsault from the top rope onto Gargano before proceeding to ram Gargano into the cage head first. Black nails a couple of stiff kicks followed by a brutal looking knee to the face of Gargano. At one stage, both men are battling while standing on the top rope, hanging onto the top of the cage, where from out of nowhere, Gargano executed a stunning sunset powerbomb, sending Aleister Black crashing to the canvas. Despite Gargano's recent turn to the dark side, there are still loud chants in the crowd for Johnny Wrestling. At one stage, Black nails Gargano with several stiff boots to the face, with one knee strike almost sending Gargano through the open door to the outside, which Black prevents by pulling Gargano back into the ring just in the nick of time. Gargano is able to apply his Gargano escape in the centre of the ring, which Black is able to escape from by powering Gargano off the floor and into the steel cage. This, however, gave Gargano the opportunity to climb to the top of the cage, eventually being caught by Black. Black avoids an attempted net breaker from the top rope by holding on to the cage, causing Gargano to land heavily back inside the ring, before Black launches himself with a double foot stomp to add insult to injury. Black lands a beautiful German suplex on Gargano for a 2 count. Gargano is able to make a comeback with 2 lawn dart throws, sending Black headfirst first into the middle turnbuckle, then into the steel cage before striking a perfect super kick. Johnny Gargano appears to have things won, but instead of choosing to leave the ring by the open door, he says to Black that he absolves him of his sins, the same as Black had said to Gargano 2 weeks earlier. Black then nails Gargano with a black mass from out of nowhere. Both men attempt to leave the ring, Gargano choosing to climb over the cage to the outside, but while Black slowly crawls towards the open door, just then Tommaso Ciampa appears from out of nowhere, slamming the open door onto the head of Aleister Black. All the while, Johnny watches from the other side of the ring while already halfway down to the floor. Instead of winning the match, Johnny climbs back into the ring as Ciampa lays the boots into Aleister Black. Has Johnny Gargano come back into the ring to save Aleister Black? Hell no, unfortunately. Loud DIY chants from the Full Sail fans when Ciampa and Gargano both raise their arms at the same time, setting up for their old DIY finisher on Black. And just like old times, they nail Black with their double super kick manoeuvre to the shock of the fans. Tommaso Ciampa leaves the cage and closes the door behind him before Johnny Gargano hooks the leg of Aleister Black and covers for the pinfall victory in the centre of the ring. After everything Gargano and Ciampa have been through, have we just witnessed the reformation of DIY? Has Tommaso Ciampa just cemented Johnny Gargano's heel turn? The plot thickens with yet another layer being added to this never-ending and always entertaining storyline between Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa and Aleister Black. On the surface of things, it looks like Gargano and Ciampa are back on the same page, with Ciampa being the puppet master, whilst Gargano embraces the dark side. So that was another outstanding episode of NXT. Never fails to impress with a fun tag match to start the show, and of course this awesome steel cage grudge match between Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black with a cameo from the NXT champion to end the show. So that's the end of this episode of Wrestling with Johners. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you're enjoying your Christmas festivities. You can get in touch with the show by emailing wrestlingwithjohners@gmail.com. Give us your feedback. I'd love for people to get in touch, tell us their thoughts. You can also get in touch via my Twitter page at withjohners_WWJ, or visit my YouTube page. Simply search Johners Wrestling. I'll be back very soon for another episode of Wrestling with Johners, where we'll be reviewing NXT, NXT UK, and we're going to throw in a few special episodes focusing on Progress Wrestling in the early new year. But in the meantime, please share this episode, shout about Wrestling with Johners if you've enjoyed what you've heard. So, there's nothing more for me to say other than thank you, take care, and speak to you all soon.